An all-new episode of The Mitch, Lafon, and Jeremy White Show.
Tuesday at noon.
Available wherever you stream.
We are speaking with the one and only FM vocalist Steve Overland. The new album, 13, is out now. And of course, and I'm biased, it is fantastic. Love it.
Good.
Absolutely love it. So let me get to this real quick, because the band broke up for a while and then got back together around 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And if we include live albums and EPs, you have put out 12 product, I guess, between Metropolis and Futurama and Indiscreet and Synchron. Talk to me about that output, because here's a band that, as I said, breaks up and then gets back together, but you don't just get back together to play the greatest hits and do a couple of festival gigs. You get back together and you get to work.
Exactly. I mean, that's the one thing I think we've touched on this before, Mitch, with FM.
Yeah.
We're not really about, obviously the past is important because that's how we got the fans we have,
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about what we do next. Always is, and, the positivity around FM since it reformed is what keeps us going. You want to keep writing, you want to keep touring because it's good fun. Everybody's so positive around the band. The reviews of the records are great. We have no reason not to just want to keep writing, recording. And that is the main thing with FM. The writing process and the making of records has always been something we've loved doing. Hearing a song from something on an acoustic guitar to that massive finished thing that we produce is we still get the same buzz out of it as we always have done. And we're already working on the next album. We're talking about, we started writing the songs and we've got tours coming up. So for the first time in 2 years, we're out on the road for 2 months.
Wow.
It's starting at the end of this month. So, well, God forbidding, but I mean, we kind of like to get ahead of the game. So we start writing knowing that we won't have time to go in and write once we get out on the road again. So it's just because everybody's so happy, Mitch, in the band. The positivity is amazing within the band. So we just keep writing and putting the stuff out. And we have a massively high benchmark. I think the quality control's great. We never think, do you know what? We need to get this out. That'll do. We're to the point where we're obsessive. We'll be like, no, we can't put it out yet. It's not ready. We have to, and that's the great thing about the band. We've always had that kind of high benchmark that we set ourselves,
Right. In fact, that was my next question, was the quality control, because I know other bands that do this and they get an album out every year, and then you listen to it and you go, maybe you should take some time and pick the 3-4 bests. But you're not having that problem. I personally think, and I know longtime fans probably hate when I say this, but I think Atomic Generation, I think Synchronize are probably better than anything you've done before. I just think that you've gotten progressively better. So what is the quality control? Do you sort of come into it with like you just said you're working on the next new album. Do you have like 30 songs and say, okay, these 20, let's not even start a conversation, but these 10, we can make something, or do you just take 10 and just go, well, okay, we've got these 10. Let's do it. Let's do our magic.
No, you're right. I mean, we normally write about between 20 and 25 songs for each record.
Wow.
And what we'll do, that doesn't mean, because various people are bringing things in. So that doesn't mean that the 12 that go on the record are necessarily the best songs. Right. What it means that they make up the best overall. They make the most interesting record. There's a bit of diversity.
They paint the nicest picture.
Yeah, sure. Looking for light and shade, aren't you, with a record? And you can't have too many of that particular sort of track. And we tend to go through, and some of the songs that don't make this particular record may resurface on an EP. They're all produced to the same level. We record all of them, and they're mixed by Jeff Nola, who mixes all of our stuff, and we produce it to the same level. So we've got a good basic sort of picture, as you described it, picture, because they all sound the same. It's not like 12 of them sound amazing and the rest of them are demos. They're all produced to the same level.
Gotcha.
So we can then say, do you know what? Those 12 make up a really great, varied interesting record, and that's how we do it, you know. And this time round, it was slightly different because obviously we couldn't see each other.
Right.
You know, we were locked down again. So we basically all of us have studios. So the rest of the band got a lot more involved. Everybody had a lot more time because we weren't touring. So we got songs from Jem, keyboard player, lots of really great stuff from every member of the band. So we actually had a bigger pool of songs. So there are some even ideas that we haven't even had time to look at for that maybe we looked at for the next album, you know. And it was a different process this time. And I think it's great because it takes a bit of pressure off of me, Mitch, because I normally instigate a lot of the songs. This album, although I co-wrote them, I'm involved in them all, I didn't come up with a lot of the initial ideas. They came from other members, which is really refreshing. I'm not the kind, for me, I'm not the sort of guy that says, oh, no, you know, I do that. I love it when everybody else takes that pressure off of me a little bit, you know.
Let me ask you then, how does that affect... Oh, we're getting an echo there. How does that affect the song in the sense of performance and in terms of, I don't want to say quality, but if you're the songwriter and then you get in there and you're singing your words, there's probably a more a connection, more of a passion. In this case, if it's coming from outside and you're not necessarily responsible for it, how do you sort of get in there and say, yeah, this is my song and I'm going to believe in this lyric and I'm going to get behind it? And is it, and I don't want to say one way is better or worse, but did it change sort of the outlook or the sound of the band?
No, not really, because what it is with FM, we all have, even if I come up with a tune, the way it gets to sound like FM is everybody else's input on the song. It can be nearly finished, but I mean, things like Jem's songs like Long Road Home, I wrote the lyrics and the melodies to his piece of music. So I get to put my stamp on with the way I sing it, and they never ever come in and say, this is how it goes, Steve. They always say, do your thing on it, do what you do Steve Overland, do a Steve Overland on it, as they put it, you know. So basically they give me a rough outline of how they want the phrasing to go, and then I take it and ruin it all for them, you know.
You make it, you save their work. No, I'm kidding. You mentioned that you write 20 to 25 songs and you have some that are left over, but they're all produced in a finished sort of version.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at 13 or at Synchronized, are there songs left over from Atomic Generation or from Heroes and Villains? I mean, is there anything that there are? And so since it's left over, are they reworked for the current project, or do you just go,
you know what?
They're there. In the can. Okay.
They're just there, Mitch. They sometimes crop up. If we did an EP, say we couldn't get an album out, we wanted another EP to put. Our EPs normally have 10 songs on anyway. But I mean, if we do one, we might delve back and say that'd be great. But the funny thing with the band is we say, oh yeah, they're great, those songs. We'll use those on the next album, and then we write another 20. So they get left in a vault somewhere to be used. Occasionally one will be pulled out. If we need a ballad and we've got a great ballad that's in that vault, we'll pull it out and say, listen, we need to put this on the album. But more often than not, the songs just keep rolling. So because they're old songs, and as I said at the start of the interview, we're more about what we're going to do next.
Right.
So if we write 20 new ones, we're really excited about those because we've never heard them produced. So it's like we tend to go with the new stuff and maybe dip back into what we've got left over. Maybe, you know.
Maybe. Now, just real quick, you've also got the Lone Rider album coming out later this year.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Talk to me about that, because it got delayed for, it was supposed to be February or March, and now it's whatever, May or June. Quickly talk to me about that project, because that's another project where you listen to it and Simon Kirke, and you just go, wow, this is great.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't heard any of the new record yet? No, I
have not.
Oh, I mean, it's we kind of, I mean, I loved the first record because it was, I mean, we've talked about it in the past, and it's an album I'd wanted to make for years, just to strip down 70s blues rock album in the style that Free used to record. FM are about this huge, big reduction. Mm-hmm. This band's about being able to hear what the bass player's doing and being able to hear it's a very stripped down band. It's guitars, bass, drums, and a singer. That's what it is. you know. And the new album is great. I think if you like the first time, you love this. I mean, Lone Road is an ongoing thing for me. It's something Simon's on board. He loves doing it. He loves the songs. He loves the material, because Bad Company are kind of touring still, but there's no new albums coming out. So Simon has to play, and obviously we couldn't all get together in the studio for the obvious reason. So Simon lives in New York. He's got a great studio. He said, "Look, Steve," he said, "I do my drums a lot in my own studio. I'll send you a sample over." And he sent me the first track over with his kit on, where he records in his studio. Unbelievable sound. I mean, I don't know what his studio is, but he knows how to record drums in it, whatever it is. It sounds amazing, the kit. So we just made the record, and it all got put together, and everybody did their bits, and it's a great record. I mean, the songs just they're easy records to write for me, because I can delve back into all the music I loved and grew up with. So, you know, the first Bad Company record for me was like a revelation. I wore the first copy out and went out and bought another one, you know. And so to be able to make a record like that with Simon Kirk on drums still, and have that kind of same sound, and it being played the same, because he plays drums differently to modern rock drummers. He's from a different place, you know, and it's all about backbeat and, you know, just pulling it all back and the groove and stuff like that. And it's an honor to have him on the record, and the records are great, and I can't wait. Funny enough, I was talking about doing the third one the other day to Steve. We were already thinking about that. So, you know, when I can slot it into the schedule, you know, I just love it, Mitch. I just love the recording thing. I'm still like I was when I was 20 years old. I just love doing it, you know. And
I'm currently staring at my pre-order. So Sundown is coming out. It doesn't say what the date is, though. June, I think it is, right?
Yeah, end of June. I mean, it got delayed just quickly because I don't know whether you know, but to get vinyl done at the moment is nearly impossible.
Right.
Because
and it's going to get worse as we lose our oil.
Yeah, and I mean the vinyl we've got for this record is stunning, and we had took so much time over it, and then we were told, oh well, we can't get the vinyl done until 2 months after the release date. So it's like, well, the initial impact of all the advertising is gone. Then you can't suddenly then say, by the way, there's a vinyl version of this. So we just decided. Well, I just talked to Khalil at the record company, and we decided, you know, people can wait another couple of months, and you know, we can have a good build up to the album, and we'll have all the vinyl and everything will be in place. So it's just, and it's still tough to get it. I mean, it's to get vinyl done because Adele released an album and all the vinyl went towards her album and ABBA. So you couldn't get anything done. So that's why it got delayed anyway. That's the delay.
I saw that there were like 3 releases. It was Adele and whatever, Justin Bieber or something. They took up all the vinyl.
Yeah, no, you got no chance. You know, they're doing like 500,000 vinyl at a time. We only want a few compared with that, you know, but we have to take its pecking order. So you go well down the list, and it's just hard work. There's just not enough vinyl pressing plants. There's not enough of them, you know.
Well, listen, as a guy who loves CDs, I don't care. No.
No. Well, I have all these beautiful vinyl records that I've had for years.
I'm staring at Staxx and Staxx.
No record deck, you know.
Hey, let me ask you, when you make a vinyl, because this has been happening with a lot of bands, is that they take the sort of mastered for iTunes version and they just sort of dump it on the vinyl and say, here you go. And then you listen to it and you go,
no.
Sounds cool.
No.
What is yours?
It has to be mastered properly for vinyl. It has to be, because it's a different process. You can only put so much time in on one side. It's a different sound. It has to be, you know, so it's done individually. It's mastered separately for vinyl.
Because there are a lot of the bigger bands that are doing these deluxe box set reissues, and you listen to the CD and you listen to the vinyl and you go, you didn't master this for this format. This is you cheated.
No. Well, funnily enough, I had a call from Jim. He's just been away on holiday before we go on the tour, and he got sent the first vinyl through the record company, and he has got a record deck with a wicked set of speakers and all that. And he just so excited for me. He said, "Have you heard the mastering on the vinyl?" I went, "Well, I haven't got a record deck for a start, so no, you know." But he said it is just amazing what the master of the vinyl is supposed to be incredible on the new FM record. So I'll have to pop round to his house and have a listen at some point, you know.
Talking about Jim, he of course does the whole blues thing and even blues rocks thing.
Yeah,
Talk to me about that influence on the FM sound because again, and I know longtime fans don't like when I say this, but I think he's made the band better because it just
yeah,
adds that texture that
yeah,
wasn't there before. And that's not a disrespectful to Andy or anybody else. I just think Jim's great.
yeah, yeah.
Talk to me about that and how do you incorporate or do you say to him, listen, put away your blues nonsense. Let's do some melodic rock, or do you say, bring that in?
No, the thing with Jim is, I mean, if you listen to my brother's playing,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a lot of blue. His favorite guitar player was Gary Moore, so
Right.
there's a lot always been an element of blues in FM sound anyway. So Jim is just a great guitar player, Mitch. I
Right.
mean, he's not a rock guitar player. He's not a blues guitar player. He can play country. He can play everything really well. He's just a brilliant player. So what he does is he incorporates his love, which is blues. I mean, his slide, he's probably one of the best slide guitar players I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Slide guitar is just off the scale as a slide guitar player. And I knew Jim, I got Jim into FM. I mean, he was my friend and we used to work together and write songs together before he joined the band.
Right.
And, Jim's blues playing as a blues guitar player is incredible. He's incredible. And the fact that he gets some of that feeling and that retro kind of approach to guitar playing into what is essentially an AOR melodic rock band,
Mm-hmm.
I think it gives it another element. I love your Steve Lukather's and all that stuff. It's fantastic, but Jim just brings something a little bit different to the table with his playing. Blues is his thing. When he joined the band, I mean, he said to me, he said, I'm not going to change your brother's guitar solos. He said, I'm going to play them as they are live. He said, because they're fantastic pieces of music,
Right.
you know. But he just said, I'll just put my own slant on the way I play them. And that's what he's done, and I agree with you. He being that kind of younger member also, he gives us a kick up the backside. He's great to have in the band. Great to have in the band.
Yeah, and of course, there was no disrespect meant to any of the players before. Their albums are great. We know they're great. I just love Jim. That's
Yeah. No, Jim's great. Jim's fantastic. Well, he's like my son. Well, not really, but it's great having him. He's like my best friend. So having him in the band's a real joy.
a real joy. The Staxx Band is another band that you work with, which has another album coming out later this year.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that one because I don't want to call it. It's not a big band, but it's got more of
Well, it
horns
is
and,
really. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
got. Talk to me about
15-piece
that.
band, Mitch. It's big.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's made up of a
It's
lot
stacked.
of really yeah, exactly. It's made up of a lot of really famous players. It's
Right.
apart from me. No, so you've got Tony Remy who played with the Crusaders and played with
Yeah.
Jack Bruce and played with Annie Lennox all through her diva period. He's played with everybody. Tony. He's a very famous jazz funk guitar player. He took over from Larry Carlton and the Crusaders. That's how great a player he is. You've got the Simply Red brass section. You've got a member of the Gorillas in there. You've got all these famous session guys. You've got 3 brilliant female backing singers. Some of those are really well known. There's a lady called Sonia Jones who's like sang on. She did the Monty Python theme. She sang with the Stones. She sang with the Who. And you got just some fantastic people in the band. And I got asked to go and do one song on one of the albums. Went into the studio and the producer Andy Wright, I kind of knew him, and he produces Simply Red and Simple Minds and all those bands. And he's like, "Oh God, Steve!" I went in, I did my one song, and ended up doing 6 on the album. And then I went away and wrote the next album with Andy,
Wow.
and that's the one that's due to come out later in the year. And it's a great record. I don't really describe it. It's kind of funk, soul, pop. It's fantastic. And it gives me a chance to delve into the Tamla and the soul side of my influences and what I love, So it keeps it very interesting, all these different styles. And I just love sort of pushing myself to do different things. I think it's important.
With these 3 different projects. Sorry, God, there's an echo there. With these 3 different projects, do you want to tour all 3 or do shows? I mean, you probably can't tour with Staxx, but maybe do 5, 6 shows locally or whatever. Is that of interest, or is it like no? These are albums, and FM is the touring band.
No, I'd love to tour with all. I do shows with Staxx. I mean, we have
Right, but not many.
we do some fairly high profile gigs, and we have guests like we had people like Paul Carrick, Steve Winwood. I did a night where I did a couple of duets with Beverly Knight, who's just off the scale. Beverly Knight. I mean, my mic went wrong on the first song, and I just stood back and listened to it, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. So, and we had Lulu. We've had some really, Steve Winwood, as I say, some real famous people sing with the Staxx Band. Wow. Roachford's done it. There's been some big singers, and it's great. I get to do duets with them at the end. So fantastic. It's brilliant, you know.
Before we run out of time here, I'm going to throw a question that has nothing to do with FM, but I'm just curious on your thoughts. We are March 2022, and of course, Genesis is on their last run, and they will, of course, cease to exist by April 1st. Unfortunately, but fortunate that they're giving us this one last tour. What has the band, if anything, meant to you? And just quickly talk to me about Phil Collins' voice, because I can listen to him sing The Phone Book, and it's terrific.
Well, his voice is a voice that draws you into the story he's telling. Nobody sings ballads better than Phil Collins. You know what I mean? He's got that thing that draws you into, and the way he records his voice is there. It's in your face, and the presence of what he sings. And I just think he has a lot of soul in his voice, not in the sense of as a soul singer, but he just has natural soul in his voice, you know, tonally and stuff. And well, Genesis as a band were a massive influence on me. My brother's favorite band of all time, Genesis, you know. And look at the songs, Mitch, and the players in the band, and the technicality of even the early stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know, all of those, all the things like Supper's Ready, all that stuff, all the real more theatrical side of what they did. When they also had the terrible artist called Peter Gabriel in the band, you know. But
and Peter's another great singer.
Oh man, I mean, you know, you're talking about absolutely unique voice and delivery of songs for Peter Gabriel, you know. And you know, great singers come in a lot of different forms. They don't have to have this huge range. They don't have to be able to do fantastic licks, and it's not about that. It's about, that's Phil Collins. The minute you hear him sing the first two words of a song, you know it's him. And it's the same with Peter Gabriel. It's all about identity, you know, and that's what a great singer is. Tony Bennett's a fantastic, brilliant singer, because you know it's Tony Bennett within the first line of a song, you know, and they're all great, fantastic singers. They really are.
They really are. And have you ever had a band argument with Pete and turned to him and said, listen, you're no Phil Collins, just sit down?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, he does fancy himself as a singer, Pete. He does like to sing every now and again, you know, and he's good. He's a great harmony singer. He can sing, you know. All of FM can sing. They can all sing, you know.
Well, oh yeah. So let me ask you about that, because Jim obviously does his albums where he sings, and they sound great. And Pete wants to be Phil. I kid. No, but have you ever thought maybe on one of the albums we'll give one song to, you know, like Kiss does or the Beatles did, and just say?
I'd love to, Rich. They won't do it though.
But would that tarnish the sound of the band if it's not you singing?
They just won't do it. They're like their opinion is, why am I going to sing when we got you as the singer in the band?
Well, that's true.
It's a bit like why I don't take the solos. I let Jim do them, you know.
Well, it's funny because years ago, Poison did an album called Hollyweird, and they couldn't decide who's going to sing what song. So they put CeCe DeVille singing a version, and then they put Brett singing the same song. And they said, screw it. We're just going to put both. The hell with it. Here.
Well, I mean, do you know what? It'd be great to have, even if we got Jim singing a couple of sections within a song.
Yes.
Like the Eagles used to, like, you'd have a verse done by Glenn Frey, then Don Henley would sing the bridge and so on, you know, and it'd be, that's not a bad idea. I'll ask him again, but he's not very up for it, to be honest, you know, but I'll ask him.
And listen, my point of reference is always Kiss, and, you know, they have that song Shouted Out Loud, and they trade vocal. I mean, trading vocals can be very cool.
Yeah.
So
No, I'll be. It's not my doing. I'd be well up for it. So if any of them watch this and they want to have a go, great. So I'd love them to. And
last question here. Of course, the new album 13 out now, sounds great. and I'll go back to where we started at the beginning with the reunion talk. When you got into that reunion mode and you said, okay, we're going to do whatever, with Firefest, I guess it was, did you have that discussion and say, listen, if we're going to do this, we are going to be a current band making new music? Or was there any pushback from other people going, oh, dude, let's just go sing the 15 greatest hits and we don't need to do this? Were there any discussions like that? Or did everybody just say, no, we're FM, we're a current band, that's it?
Well, what happened was, I think we've talked a lot on this, Mitch. I think we were in shock for a while. We did the show. It's the first time the Firefest had ever sold out. People came from all over the world. The band thought they would be doing a few gigs. That was what the intention was. Just because we wanted to get back together, we never fell out. We were good mates right through the 10 years we were apart. And I worked with Merv on a few things, and we kept in touch, you know. And so the initial thing was, what's happened? You know, what is all this about? We were in shock. But then when we made the decision, people started coming forward and saying, you can't just stop now. You can't stop again. Did you not see that? Did you not see that reaction? And so we then gave it
probably Dave Ling, right?
Well, he was there. Yeah.
He's like, listen, mates, you must go on.
So we sat down and we said, look, what do you think? And we had exactly that discussion. And we said, look, if we're going to do this, we've got to do it as well, if not better than we did it before.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no point. There's no point. You know, we can't. What we don't want to be is a band that just trudges around, playing a few gigs, playing all the old songs, because we wanted to play some new material. We were so excited by it. We said, let's start writing a few songs. And then basically people heard we were writing, came out the woodwork and said, you're writing a new album. And we're like, well, we're not writing a new album. We're just writing a few tunes, you know. And Metropolis came together. I had this song. We put it all together and it all came together as a record. And since that happened, Mitch, that's been the thing that FM are about. It's about, right, that album, we're really pleased with it. It was a great record. So what we're going to do next, you know? And that's what we do. That's what the band is. It's all about the next record. Once we're happy and we're proud of the one we've done, it's all about, the live albums usually come about through somebody saying to us, look, we recorded these shows on the last tour. Have you heard them? You should put it out. And then but we don't really ever think about releasing a live album. It's a bit like the Indiscreet record, the Indiscreet 30 record. I think I've spoken when we spoke about that. I was dead against doing it because to me it was about going backwards. And that's not what we want to do. But because we put a different slant on it, I said, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to re-record it with Jim on guitar, loads more power, record it differently. I'll redo the vocals, change some melodies. It's got to be a different Indiscreet to the original one. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it, you know. And so it's all about moving forward and has been since we reformed.
And I'll say this, the Metropolis record, Over You, is one of the best songs you've ever recorded. Just
thank you.
Quickly. And Indiscreet 30, I don't see that as looking back. I think it was absolutely brilliant. I think the update is perfect. Now we have two versions to take. You know, Monday I can listen to the old one, and Tuesday I can listen to the new one, and I'm not getting the same thing. So that works.
That's great.
And the Tough It Out live album was also great because there was new arrangements and new approaches and you know.
It's important. I mean, as I say, we kind of, that's what we try and do. I mean, the Tough It Out live album came out great. I mean, we heard the recordings. It was a bit like, you know, we're only ever going to do this once, play the whole album. So why not? Because the recordings, it was our sound man. He didn't even tell us he was recording a lot of the shows. When he played them to us, he said, I'm going to send you this. You have a listen to this. And he sent us a few tracks and we're like, this is pretty exciting. This sounds really exciting. So we just listened through the gigs, put the record together, and we nailed it on the tour. So we were obviously excited about doing it, going back and doing it. So I thought that came across in the record, which was great, you know.
Perfect. And the band is not slowing down. 12 records since 2008. So
yeah, never.
That's insane.
Never. Until we have to. Till we
Until
have to.
There you go. Always a pleasure. Thank you for 13. I think it's another phenomenal record. Just another cherry on top of the other cherries on top that we've been stacking on these on this Sunday, on the FM Sunday for a decade now.
That's great. Thanks, Mitch. I'm glad you like it. It's brilliant to hear. You know.
Yeah, well, you know what, and this is a compliment to you. A lot of it has to do with the voice. You could take the same songs. You could take "Over You" from Metropolis, and you put on the wrong vocalist, or a vocalist I don't like, and it wouldn't work. So it's.
No, I guess it's all great. It's all part of the overall thing that we're about, isn't it? You know, and the songs are written around the way I sing, even when the other guys write them. As I say, they just say, right now, do your Steve Overland thing on them, and that's how it becomes FM, with what they put into it and what I do. It's very much a band, Mitch. Very much a band, you know.
Absolutely, it's a well-oiled machine. It's a refined sound, and for anybody who likes, you know, hard melodic rock or melodic rock, you got to check it out.
Yeah, fantastic.
Merci bien. Have a good day. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and you take care of yourself. Good to see you.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye.
An all-new episode of The Mitch Lafon and Jeremy White Show.
Tuesday at noon.
Available wherever you stream.